What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Callie. This is my channel. It is super random, and today's no different because I want to just kind of share with you guys like what I'm experiencing on my journey right now, because what I've been realizing is it is a very, very collective journey that we're all on, and what I'm going through, I know I'm not the only one, and it has parallels and a lot of similarities to probably what you're going through and realizing and feeling and experiencing. So I have found in my own experiences that, or in my own life, that, being able to hear other people share their stories and how they've worked through it or managed to, um, you know, keep going despite what they've experienced is helped me a lot in my own journey. So I want to, be a voice that shares a very challenging and painful journey with others so that maybe they can find the same comfort I find when I get to hear other people's stories. So with that said, if you are new to the channel, make sure you take a minute, hit that subscribe button, check it out first, see if it's something you want to subscribe to, because I'm not your average bear. But yeah, if you've happened to come across my channel, I'm going to guarantee you it's not by chance. So let me know down below who you are, where you are, how you are. I'm sure, there's something there. So anyway, it has been quite some energy going on the last couple weeks. For me, and I know for other people, a big thing that has been a key focus has been genetics, whether ancestors or even our children. Just the profound role that genetics play in our everyday life. So, where do I even start? This winter has definitely, when it was transitioning into fall and into winter, I was feeling kind of depressed, just depressed. I needed some deep rest. I was exhausted. I had just gotten into a car accident, broke my collarbone, as everyone knows. So, yeah, I was exhausted. And if you can see me now, I'm in my heart robe because I definitely need all the love I can get from myself, from wherever. I know first love has to come internal before we could even ever try to receive it externally. So I am back at that point of trying to give myself love, even when it doesn't feel good, even when it's hard, even when I'm too tired, So part of self-love for me is getting on here and doing a video. So anyway, I've been realizing a lot, like we're in the dead of winter now. It doesn't feel good, not here, but where I'm from in Michigan, there's snow on the ground. You're not doing a lot, here it's been cold and rainy, and it feels, there's an external reflection of the internal world, and yeah, it feels dead, like there's a lot going on inside. I've been having such an intense experience with my son, reflecting so much of my everything, reflecting my physical self-neglect, reflecting my emotional needs, and even my mental. Basically, he's reflecting all the neglect, the self-neglect and the neglect that I received as a child. And not that I'm neglecting him, but he's showing me where I'm neglecting myself, just by watching and observing the things that he's going through. And, just with COVID right now, these children being, stuck inside all day, not being able to do the things that they used to do has been tough. For us, it hasn't been much of a change, but it's been, broken collarbone. I'm not going out. My son still has yet to ride in a vehicle since the accident, so we've been in the house. And he's the type of child that needs outdoors to get rid of a lot of that energy, or else it turns into emotion. And I think a lot of us go through that. So yeah, really seeing myself reflected through my son has been kind of a nightmare. I won't lie, because you see the really painful parts of what you're experiencing but it's not you going through it. It's something externally reflected outside of you in the form of, your child. It's not easy to watch your child go through pain. In my instance, it's with the teeth. There's been a lot of issues with teeth in my life since I was a young child, and genetically, emotionally, mentally, it's just played an intense role in my life, and to see it repeated outside of me with my child is just so much more than I have been able to bear. I'll be completely honest, but I am trying to come to terms with what I'm experiencing, accept it, and go from there. So, which I feel like I have done that part, and now it's just, working my way back from that extreme realization of self-neglect, because I wasn't raised with parents who took care of their mental, emotional, and physical needs. With my mother, she neglected her mental and emotional needs, and with my father, he neglected his physical, environmental, and emotional needs. So there was neglect on both sides of my lineages, and obviously my DNA, the body that I came into, has that hardwiring or that coding, like a computer program, basically. So despite my higher conscious knowing what I have to do, getting my body to do what I need to do has been the biggest battle of my life. And I know better than to battle with the body, because you have to respect the body. We're riding in it, and she's alive, and she's awake, and she's aware. So that's another thing. And she feels very deeply and profoundly, and it's a lot to feel when you're used to thinking and not feeling so much, because we spend a lot of time in our head, So I've been in my head for a while, scheming, thinking, what can I do, career, I got a kid, I got moves to make, and my body has been like, also I'm still pumping milk for my cat, my son, and my body just had a broken collarbone. It's been through a lot, and she's upset with me because of my self-neglect, basically just being imbalanced between mind and body. And so I've been trying to come back into my body, but there's a lot that comes with being in a body, because the body is what feels. So coming back into your body, you're going to feel the sensations, you're going to feel the feelings, you're going to feel the emotion that hurts, it doesn't feel good. And it's, it's keeping you down. It's held. Your body holds it. Right now, I'm working on my sacral chakra, right? There. That's the emotion. And you can see, listen, I'll be doing a journey one day soon of how I, got rid of my, it's not a lot, okay? But look, that is emotion. That's emotion. That is stress being held in my stomach. Okay, heavy emotions from childhood, from experiences in my 20s, sexual abuse, sexual trauma, things like that, that's where it's held. And right now, the body always reflects what we're going through. With my collarbone, it was reflecting the fact that I was too dominantly going forward and not allowing enough time for stillness and for receiving receptivity. I was pushing out more than I was taking in. And so, and also I could look at it as I was either maybe taking less than I was giving, because my feminine side has been very used to people taking care of her, even though my dad wasn't in my young life, I always had boyfriends who took care of like my financial needs. And so, for the most part, until I learned that really came with a price, and I started to learn how to take care of myself. And it wasn't like I didn't take care of myself. I worked since I was 13 years old at a bar. I was a busser, a dishwasher, a hostess, and then when I turned 18, I started waitressing up until I was 21, when I got really sick from drug addiction, almost died. That's a long story short, But in the times in between that, I did sometimes rely on men to help me or do things for me. I don't know. I think that's a lot of women's experience. And so I don't know if I'm going to say I feel shame in that, but it is something that I wish I would have done differently, And it wasn't even just that. I was always looking for that fatherly figure because I didn't have it. And so I always craved it and would find it in my relationships. And so basically, I think me taking a hit on my masculine side was a way for my yin, my feminine side, to kind of stand up and be like, hey, I can actually take care of myself. I can do this. I'm an empowered woman, you know. And my relationship now, what's so amazing about my partner is that he always allows me the space to build and grow myself on my own without, like, you know, hovering over me or being like, what are you doing? You should be doing this. Because in past relationships, it was an extreme level of control that I experienced of, you know, the person always being like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. That's stupid. You're stupid, you know. So I get a lot of freedom now to really delve into whatever it is I want to help me learn and grow and expand, which we're all here to do. So anyway, I didn't want to make this a long-winded video, but I did have an interesting moment of realization today where my sister, okay, so I'll be completely transparent. I've been feeling very emotional, mentally messed up, having really low vibrational thoughts. I've been in the locas, okay? I've been in the locas, we'll say that. So much to where I've been hearing, you know, words of like suicide. Obviously, I'm not suicidal. I'm not going to kill myself. I love the human experience. I love my life, and you know, I appreciate everything that I have, but I was hearing these thoughts amidst high stress, right? So something happens, I will become very physically stressful. My mind will instantly start being like, I don't want to be here anymore. We gotta leave, you know. And I'll be like, no, we can't leave. And it'll be like, but we gotta leave. You can't handle this. Think of how you feel. And I'm like, man, I feel crappy, but I gotta stick through this, you know. And so either way, this was going on this morning quite heavily, and I was laying in bed crying, thinking, man, mom, can you hear me? Please call me. Or dad, if you can hear me, please call me. Basically reaching out to anyone I'm connected to as an invitation to reach out to me because I really needed someone. So I ended up picking myself up off of my bed, you know, because I'm a mother, gotta get up, got stuff to do. And I looked at my phone and my mother had called me, and I call her back, and she tells me about how all night long, which I was emotional all night, how all night long her and my sister were going through intense drama with their lives. You know, they're in the north, it gets boring. It's boring up there, so in the north it's easy to find drama, you know, things to tip you one way or another, else it'd just be so boring. So they were having a real crazy emotional time, physical fights, excuse me, drinking, things like that, you know. Things got out of hand, and my sister this morning was feeling very emotional and saying, you know, similar things to what I was thinking internally. So while I was experiencing the emotion and even the suicidal thoughts, my family, my sister was also experiencing this really negative energy and thoughts. And I was just like, wow, that is really crazy. Because years ago, my dad, when I was learning about genetics, when I was learning about fear and healing and how epigenetics, which is trauma that's passed down through the DNA, me and my dad were talking, and he had said he came across some research that stated they took a DNA cell and they split it. And they started messing or tampering with one part of the side of the DNA cell. And the other one, although nothing was happening to it, it was reacting the same way as if whatever they were doing to this one over here was happening. And they even went as far as to put these two DNA cells that were split apart in miles and miles and miles apart, and it was still the same. They still reacted the same. So that's to say, we are so intrinsically connected with our siblings, our parents, and even each other, because technically we all have the same DNA, it's just arranged differently. So we all have more predominant traits that show, right? Like me and, well, I don't have any full-blooded siblings, but I'll use my partner as an example. Him and his brother are full-blooded siblings, although they have more dominant genetic traits that show. Like one looks more Asian, one looks more Indian, you know, and it goes as far as even characteristics. I've been able to track a lot of my characteristics and thinking and feeling up to my genetics, being, you know, I know how the Germans are. The Germans are very intellectual. That is where I get my deep thinking mind, right? Irishes are very passionate, driven, artsy, but also prone sometimes to addiction. You know, and they all have their good and their bad. My American Indian is profoundly spiritual, but it has so much trauma from, things that they experienced, like the Trail of Tears, if you haven't researched it. And just different things like that. My Italian side, man, I look at them like, you don't mess with the Italians. My grandma is Italian Irish, and her Italian side is mean. One time I called her and she's like, "What do you want? Who is this?" And I was like, "Grandma, it's me." And she's like, "Oh, Jesse." I was like, "That's how you answer the phone?" She's like, "Yeah, you don't know who be calling you." And I'm like, "Wow, Grandma." So, it's just like all these different genetics share different traits, and learning why you're doing the things you're doing, and part of the healing journey for me has been learning about these different genetics that I am displaying or even experiencing through the body. Because you have to understand, we have a mind or a spirit, right? A spirit or a soul. I guess spirit is like an individual soul, but we all have soul. Soul is what runs through all life, but spirit is like the individual self. So like the spirit would be the Jessica, the I, but the soul would be the all collective, right? So the soul knows I'm in the body of Jessica, and she has all of these different coding and DNA, from her experiences and everything, and that's how the mind is going to behave with that coding, not only of genetically, but through our own experiences. So trying to know who I am, but be in a human body, in the experience of, these different, not even just limitations, but strengths, because I think each DNA, each genetic lineage has their strengths. There's the weakness too. It's like both, for a while I only focused on the English, like the English, let's not go there. I will go there, but I meant I only focused on the weaknesses and not so much the strength. The English, right? I have English lineage, and they were very predatorial people. Like, I come from William the Conqueror. He was a bastard child of one of the king, and he ended up taking over the whole kingdom of England and killing a lot of people. And then eventually that, went down to his children, and then me eventually. And so that lineage, not even just that, but his children went on to take over and, invade different places and kill and rape and do really crazy things, as well as my Spanish lineage, right? Because I do have Spanish blood too. And so I have not only the blood on my lineage's hands, but I have the victimhood too, because I was the people who did the perpetrator, and I was also the victims of that perpetration. So for me, it's a huge war inside between these two parts of myself. One has been brutally beaten, abused by the other, and the other has just didn't care about nothing, stomped because of its own desires, fleshly needs, and thoughts like that, So it's just been a really interesting thing, but I wanted to get on here and share, what I'm going through, and just share, like, how crazy it is, how connected not only we are throughout our family, because when I was going through my healing, I was able to say, okay, I'm having these thoughts. These thoughts come from my father. These thoughts come from my mother. These feelings come from my father. These feelings come from my mother. And then to go further that into the grandparents, like, because all of this energy is pushing downward through you. And so, learning that so you can be like, okay, hey, I'm doing this right now. I need to channel that energy somewhere else, because this is destructive. Like my grandfather, he liked to eat. They called him hog jaws, right? Because he would eat so fast. And when I'm emotional, I did a video. I will eat so fast like an animal. So it's just like we do things that our ancestors did, because we're carrying that DNA, we're carrying that experience within our body, which is our DNA coding. And it's like people don't understand DNA and how it has a profound effect on everything we do. So that is a little into that. I'm sure I'll go much deeper on all of this. But yeah, I just wanted to share because I know collectively we share the same DNA as well because we all come from the same source. So I know what I'm going through, other people are going through too. And I love you all. We can do this. We're in the dead of winter, right? Soon we're gonna spring again and it will be summer and all will be well, okay? All will be well. We will all get through this, and I will get through this. You will get through this, and yeah, thank you. If you made it to the end of this video, let me know. You don't have to, but if you did, I appreciate you. I thank you. I love you, and to everyone else, you know, take it easy, stay cheesy, and I will see you all next time.